Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and One Night. Now, when it was the 979th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Abdullah bin Fazil went forth by the door of the saloon, deeming Abu Ishak asleep, the Caliph's cup companion, seeing this, marveled, and said in himself, Whither wendeth Abdullah bin Fazil with that whip? Perhaps he is minded to punish somebody, but needs I must follow him, and see what he will do this night. So he arose and went out after him softly, very softly, that he might not be seen, and presently saw him open a closet, and take thence a tray containing 4 dishes of meat and bread, and a gugglet of water. Then he went on carrying this tray, and secretly followed Abu Ishak, until he came to another saloon, and entered, whilst the cup companion stood behind the door, and looking through the chink, saw a spacious saloon, furnished with the richest furniture, and having in its midst a couch of ivory plated, with gold glittering sheeny, to which 2 dogs were made fast with chains of gold. Then Abdullah set down the tray in a corner, and tucking up his sleeves, loosed the first dog, which began to struggle in his hands, and put its muzzle to the floor as it would kiss the ground before him, whining the while in a weak voice. Abdullah tied its paws behind its back, and throwing it on the ground, drew forth the whip and beat it with a painful beating and a pitiless. The dog struggled, but could not get free, and Abdullah ceased not to beat it with the whip till it left groaning and lay without consciousness. Then he took it and tied it up in place, and unbinding the second dog, did the same with him as he did with the first, after which he pulled out a kerchief and fell to wiping away their tears, and comforting them, saying, Bear me not malice, for by Allah this is not of my will, nor is it easy to me. But it may be Allah will grant you relief from this strait, and issue you from your affliction. And he prayed for the twain, while Abu Ishak, the cup companion, stood hearkening with his ears, and espying with his eyes, and indeed he marveled at his case. Then Abdullah brought the dogs the tray of food, and fell to morsselling them with his hand, till they had had enough, when he wiped their muzzles, and lifting up the gugglet, gave them to drink. After which he took up the tray, gugglet, and candle, and made for the door. But Abu Ishak forewent him, and making his way back to his couch, lay down, so that he saw him not, neither knew that he had walked behind him and watched him. Then the governor replaced the tray and the gugglet in the closet, and returning to the saloon, opened the locker, and laid the whip in its place. After which he doffed his clothes, and laying down. But Abu Ishak passed the rest of that night pondering this affair, neither did sleep visit him for excess of wonderment, and stayed that way until he rose and prayed for the dawn prayer. Then they set the breakfast before them, and they ate and drank coffee, after which they went up to the divan. Now Abu Ishak's thought was occupied with this mystery all day long, but he concealed the matter, and questioned not Abdullah thereof. Next night he again followed the governor, and saw him do with the 2 dogs as he had the previous night, first beating them, and then making his peace with them, and giving them to eat and to drink. And so also he did on the 3rd night. On the 4th day he brought the tribute to Abu Ishak, who took it, and departed without opening the matter to him. He fared on without ceasing till he came to Baghdad, where he delivered the tribute to the Caliph, who questioned him of the cause of its delay. Replied he, O Commander of the Faithful, I found that the governor of Bassorah had already made ready the tribute, and was about to dispatch it, and had I delayed a day, it would have met me on the road. But, O Prince of True Believers, I had a wondrous adventure with Abdullah bin Fazil. Never in my life saw I its like. And what was it, O Abu Ishak? Asked the Caliph. So he replied, I saw such and such, and brief acquainted him with that which the governor had done with the 2 dogs, adding, After such fashion I saw him do it 3 successive nights, first beating the dogs, and then making peace with them, and comforting them, and giving them to eat and drink. I watching him, and he seeing me not. Asked the Caliph, Didst thou question him of the cause of this? And the other answered, No, as thy head liveth, O Commander of the Faithful. Then said al-Rashid, O Abu Ishak, I command thee to return to Bassorah, and bring me Abdullah bin Fazil and the 2 dogs. Quoth he, O Commander of the Faithful, excuse me from this, for indeed Abdullah entertained me with exceeding hospitality, and I became aware of his case with chance, undesigned, and acquainted thee therewith. So how can I go back to him and bring this out to him? Verily, if I return to him, I shall find me no face for shame of him. Wherefore 'twere meet that thou sent him another than myself, with a letter under thine own hand, and he shall bring him to thee and the 2 dogs. But quoth the Caliph, if I send him other than thyself, peradventure he will deny the whole affair, and say, I've no dogs. But if I send thee, and thou say to him, I saw them with mine own eyes, he will not be able to deny that. Wherefore nothing will serve but that thou go and fetch him and the 2 dogs. Otherwise I will surely slay thee. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 980th night, she continued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Caliph Harun al-Rashid said to Abu Ishak, Nothing will serve but that thou go and fetch him and the 2 dogs. Otherwise I will surely slay thee. Abu Ishak replied, Hearing and obeying, O Commander of the Faithful. Allah is our aidance, and good is the agent. He spake sooth who said, Man's wrong is from the tongue, and 'tis I who sinned against myself in telling thee. But write me a royal script, and I will go to him and bring him back to thee. So the Caliph gave him an autograph, and he took it and repaired to Bassorah. Seeing him come in, the governor said, Allah forfend us from the mischief of thy return, O Abu Ishak. How cometh it thou return in such haste? Peradventure the tribute is deficient, and the Caliph will not accept it? Answered Abu Ishak, O Emir Abdullah, my return is not on account of the deficiency of the tribute, for 'tis full measure, and the Caliph does accept it. But I hope that thou wilt excuse me, for that I have failed in my duty as thy guest, and indeed this lapse of mine was decreed of Allah Almighty. Abdullah inquired, And what may be the lapse? And he replied, Know that when I was with thee, I followed thee 3 following nights, and saw thee rise at midnight and beat the dogs and return. Whereat I marveled, but was ashamed to question thee thereof. When I came back to Baghdad, I told the Caliph of thine affair, casually and without design, whereupon he charged me to return to thee, and here's the letter under his hand. Had I known that the affair would lead to this, I had not told him, but destiny foreordained thus. And he went on to excuse himself to him, whereupon said Abdullah, Since thou hast told me this, I will bear out thy report with him, lest he deem thee a liar, for thou art of my friend. Were it other than thou, I'd had denied the affair and given him the lie. But now I will go with thee, and carry the dogs with me, though this be me ruined life, and the end of my term of life. Rejoice the other, Allah will veil thee, even as thou hast veiled my face with the Caliph. Then Abdullah took a present beseeming the Commander of the Faithful, and mounting the dogs with him, each on a camel bound with chains of gold, journeyed with Abu Ishak to Baghdad, where he went in to the Caliph, and kissed ground before him. He deigned bid him seat, so he sat down and brought the 2 dogs before al-Rashid, who said to him, What be these dogs, O Emir Abdullah? Whereupon they fell to kissing the floor between his hands, and wagging their tails, and weeping as if to complain to him. The Caliph marveled at this, and said to the governor, Tell me the history of these 2 dogs, and the reason of thy beating them, and after entreating them with honor. He replied, O Vicar of Allah, these be no dogs, but 2 young men, endowed with beauty and seemliness, symmetry and shapeliness, and they are my brothers, and the sons of my father and mother. Asked the Caliph, How is it that they were men and now have become dogs? And he answered, And thou give me leave, O Prince of True Believers, I will acquaint thee with the truth of the circumstance. Said al-Rashid, Tell me, and where of leasing, for 'tis of the fashion of the hypocrites, that look thou tell truth, for that is the ark of safety, and the mark of virtuous men. Rejoined Abdullah, Know then, O Vice-Regent of Allah, When I tell thee the story of these dogs, they will both bear witness against me, and I speak sooth, they will certify it, and if I lie, they will give me the lie. Cried the Caliph, these are of the dogs, they cannot speak nor answer, so how can they testify for or against thee? But Abdullah said to them, O my brothers, if I speak a lying word, do ye lift your heads and stare with your eyes? But if I say sooth, hang down your head and lower your eyes. Then said he to the Caliph, Know, O Commander of the Faithful, that we are 3 brothers by one mother and the same father. Our sire's name was Fazil, and he was so named because his mother bare 2 sons at one birth, one of whom died forthright, and the other twin remained alive, wherefore his sire named him Fazil, the remainder. His father brought him up and reared him well, till he grew to manhood, when he married him to our mother and died. Our mother conceived at first time, and bare this my first brother, whom our sire named Mansur. Then she conceived again, and bare this my second brother, whom he named Nasir. After which she conceived a third time, and bare me, whom they named Abdullah. My father reared us all 3 till we came to a man's estate, when he died, leaving us a house and a shop full of colored stuffs of all kinds, Indian and Greek, Khorasani, and what not, besides 60,000 dinars. We washed him and buried him to the ruth of his Lord, after which we built him a splendid monument, and let pray for him prayers for the deliverance of his soul from the fire, and held perlections of the Koran, and gave alms on his behalf till the 40 days were past. When I called together the merchants and nobles of the folk, and made them a sumptuous entertainment. As soon as they had eaten, I said to them, O merchants, verily this world is ephemeral, but the next world is eternal. And extolled be the perfection of him who endureth always after his creatures have passed away. Know ye why I have called you together this blessed day? And they answered, Extolled be Allah, sole sight of the hidden things. Quoth I, My father died leaving much of money, and I fear lest any have claim against him for a debt or pledge or what not else, and I desire to discharge my father's obligations towards the folk. So whoso hath any demand on him, let him say, He oweth me so and so, and I will satisfy it to him, that I may acquit the responsibility of my sire. The merchants replied, O Abdullah, verily the goods of this world stand not in stead of those of the world to come, and we are no fraudful folk, but all of us know the lawful from the unlawful, and fear Almighty Allah, and abstain from devouring the substance of the orphan. We know that thy father, Allah have mercy on him, still let his money lie with the folk, nor did he suffer any man's claim on him to go unacquitted. And we have ever heard him declare, I am fearful of the people's substance. He used to always to say in his prayers, O my God, thou art my stay and my hope. Let me not die while in debt. And it was of his wont that if he owed any one aught, he would pay it to him without being pressed. And if any owed him aught, he would not dun them, but would say to him, At thy leisure. If his debtor were poor, he would release him from his liability and acquit him of responsibility. And if he were not poor and died in his debt, he would say, Allah forgive him what he oweth me. And we all testify that he owed no man aught. Quoth I, May Allah bless you. Then I turned to these my brothers, and I said, Our father owed no man aught, and hath left us much money and stuffs besides the house and the shop. Now we are 3, and each of us is entitled to 1/3 part. So shall we agree to waive division and wone co-partners in our wealth, and eat together and drink together, or shall we apportion the stuffs and the money to take each his part? Said they, We will divide them, and take each his share. Then Abdullah turned to the 2 dogs and said to them, Did it happen thus, O my brothers? And they bowed their heads and lowered their eyes to say yes. Abdullah continued, I called in a departure from the Qazi's court, O Prince of True Believers, and he distributed amongst us the money and the stuffs and all our father had left, allotting the house and shop to me in exchange for a part of the coin and clothes to which I was entitled. We were content with this, so the house and the shop fell to my share, whilst my brothers took their portion in money and stuffs. I opened the shop, and stocking it with my stuffs, bought other things with the money apportioned to me, over and above the house and shop, till the place was full, and I sat selling and buying. As for my brothers, they purchased stuffs, and hiring a ship, set out on a voyage to the far abodes of folk. Quoth I, Allah aid them both. As for me, my livelihood is ready to my hand, and peace is priceless. I abode thus a whole year, during which time Allah opened the door of fortune to me, and I gained great gains, till I became possessed of the like of that which our father had left us. One day, as I sat in my shop with 2 fur pelisses on me, one of sable and the other of maneuver, it was the season of winter and the time of excess cold. Behold, there came up to me my 2 brothers, each clad in a ragged shirt, and nothing more, and their lips were white with cold, and they were shivering. When I saw them in this plight, it was grievous to me, and I mourned for them. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 981st night, she pursued, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Abdullah bin Fazil continued to the Caliph, When I saw them in this plight, it was grievous to me, and I mourned for them, and my reason fled my head. So I rose, and embraced them, and wept over their condition. Then I put on one of them the pelisse of sable, and on the other the fur coat of miniver, and carrying them to the Hammam, sent thither for each of them a suit of apparel, such as befitted a merchant, worth 1,000. When they had washed and donned each his suit, I carried them to my house, where, seeing them well nigh famished, I set a tray of food before them, and ate with them, caressing them and comforting them. Then he again turned to the 2 brothers, and said to them, Was this not so, O my brothers? And they bent their heads and lowered their eyes. So Abdullah continued, When they had eaten, O Vicar of Allah, quoth I to them, What hath befallen you, and where are your goods? And quoth they, We fared up the river, till we came to a city called Kufa, where we sold for 10 dinars the piece of stuff that had cost half a ducat, and that which cost us a ducat for 20. So we profited greatly, and we bought Persian stuffs at the rate of 10 sequins per piece of silk, worth 40 in Bassorah. Thence we moved to a city called Al-Karaka, where we sold and bought and made gain galore, and amassed of wealth great store. And they went on to set forth to me the places and the profits. So I said to them, Since you had such good luck and lot, how cometh that thou return to me naked? They sighed, and they answered, O our brothers, someone must have evil-eyed us, and in travel there is no trusting. When we had gotten together these monies and goods, we freighted a ship therewith, and set sail, intending for Bassorah. We fared on 3 days, and on the 4th day we saw the sea rise and fall, and roar and foam, and swell and dash, whilst the waves clashed together with a crash, striking out sparks like fire in the darks. The winds blew contrary for us, and our craft struck upon the point of a bill-projected rock, which it brake up and plunged us into the river, and all we had with us was lost in the waters. We abode struggling on the surface a day and a night, till Allah sent us another ship, whose crew picked us up, and we begged our way from town to town, suffering mighty sore hardships, and selling our body clothes piecemeal to buy us food, till we drew near Bassorah. Nor did we make the city till we had drained the draught of 1,000 miseries. But had we come safely off that which was by us, we had brought back riches that we might even with those of the king. But this was foreordained to us by Allah. I said, O my brothers, let not your hearts be grieved, for wealth is the ransom of bodies, and safety is property. Since Allah hath written you of the saved, this is the end of desire for your want and wealth, are but It were illusions of dreams, and God-gifted as those who say, if a man from destruction can save his head, let him hold his wealth as a slice of nail. I continued, O my brothers, we will suppose that our sire died today and left us all his wealth that is with me, for I am willing to share it with you equally. So I fetched a departure from the Kazis' court and brought out to him all my money, which he distributed into 3 equal parts, and we each took one. Then said I to them, O my brothers, Allah blesseth the man in his daily bread, if he be in his own country. So let each of you open a shop and sit therein to get his living, and he to whom aught is ordained is the secret purpose. Needs must he get it. Accordingly, I helped each of them to open a shop, and filled it for them with goods, saying to them, Sell, and buy, and keep your monies, and spend not thereof. For all ye need of meat and drink, and so forth, I will furnish to you. I continued to entreat them generously, and they fell to selling and buying by day, and returning at evening to my house, where they lay the night, nor would I suffer them to expend aught of their own substance. But whenever I sat talking with them, they would praise travel, and proclaim its pleasures, and vaunt the gains they had made therein, and they ceased not to urge me to accompany them in travelling over foreign parts. Then he said to the dogs, Was this so, O my brothers? And they again bowed their heads and lowered their eyes in confirmation of my words. He continued, On such wise, O vicar of all, they continue to urge me and tempt me to travel by vaunting the great gains and profit to be obtained thereby, till I said to them, Needs must I fare with you for your sake. Then I entered into a contract of partnership with them, and we chartered a ship, and packing up with all manner of precious stuffs and merchandise of every kind, freighted it therewith, after which we embarked in all we needed, and setting sail from Bassorah, launched out into the dashing sea, swollen and clashing surge, whereto was entereth its loan and loan, and whence whoso cometh forth is as a babe newborn. We ceased not sailing on till we came to a city of the cities, where we sold and bought and made great cheap. Thence we went on to another place, and we ceased not to pass from land to land and port to port, selling and buying and profiting, till we had gotten us great wealth and such advantage. Presently we came to a mountain, where the captain cast anchor and said to us, O passengers, go ye ashore, ye shall be saved from this day, and make search. It may be that ye shall find water. So all landed amongst the crowd and dispersed about the island in search of water. As for me, I climbed to the top of the mountain, and whilst I went along, lo and behold, I saw a white snake fleeing and followed by a black dragon, foul of favour and frightful of form, hotly pursuing her. Presently he overtook her, and clipping her, seized her by the head, and wound his tail about her tail, whereupon she cried out, and I knew that he was proposed to rape her. So I moved to Ruth for her, and taking up a lump of granite, 5 pounds or more in weight, hurled it at the dragon. It smote him on the head and crushed it, and ere I knew, the white snake changed and became a young girl, bright with beauty and loveliness and brilliancy and perfect grace, as she were the shining full moon, who came up to me, and kissing my hand said to me, Allah veil thee with 2-fold veils, one from shame in this world, and the other from the flame of the world, to come on the day of the great upstanding, the day when neither wealth nor children shall avail, save to him who shall come to Allah with a sound heart. And presently she continued, O mortal, thou hast saved my honour, and I am indebted to thee for kindness, wherefore it behoveth me to requite thee. So saying, she signed with her hand to the earth, which opened, and she descended thereinto. Then it closed up again over her, and by this I knew that she was of the Jinn. As for the dragon, fire was kindled in him, and consumed him, and he became ashes. I marvelled at this, and returned to my comrades, whom I acquainted with whatso I had seen, and we passed the night in the island. On the morrow the captain weighed anchor and spread the sails and coiled the ropes, and we sailed till the shore faded from our gaze. We fared on 20 days without seeing or land or bird till our water came to an end. And quoth the rays to us, O folk, our fresh water is spent. Quoth we, Let us make for land, haply we shall find water. But he exclaimed, By Allah, I have lost my way, and I know not what course will bring me to the seaboard. Thereupon betided us sore chagrin, and we wept and besought Allah Almighty to guide us into the right course. We passed that night in the sorest case, but God-gifted is he who said, How many a night have I spent in woes that would grizzle the suckling babe with fear, but morrowed not morn ere to me there came aidance from Allah and Bassorah near. But when the day arose in its sheen and shone, we caught sight of a high mountain and rejoiced therein. When we came to its skirts, the captain said to us, O folk, go ashore and seek for water. So we all landed and sought water, but found none, whereat we were sore afflicted, because we were suffering for want of it. As for me, I climbed up to the mountain top, and on the other side thereof I saw a spacious circle, distant from us an hour's journey or more. Presently I called my companions, and as soon as they all rejoined me, said to them, Look at yonder basin beyond this mountain, for I see therein a city high of base, and a strong cornered place girt with sconces and rampartry and pasturage and lea, and doubtless it wanteth not water and good things. So hie we thither and fetch drink therefrom, and buy what we need of provisions, meat and fruit, and return. But they said, We fear lest the city folks be Kafirs, ascribing to Allah partners and enemies of the faith, and lay hands on us and take us captive, or else slay us. So should we cause the loss of our own lives, having cast ourselves into destruction and evil emprise? Indeed, the proud and presumptuous are never praiseworthy, for that they ever fare in danger of calamities, even as saith of such an one certain poet, Long as earth is earth, long as sky is sky, the o'er-proud is blamed, though from risk he fly. So we will not expose ourselves to peril. I replied, O folk, I have no authority over you, so I will take my brothers and go to yonder city. But my brothers said to me, We also fear this thing, and will not go with thee. Quoth I, As for me, I am resolved to go thither, and I put my trust in Allah, and accept whatsoever he shall decree to me. Do ye therefore await me, whilst I wend thither, and return to you twain. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale, till it be morrow.